This is Common Courtesy with Sean Nicholas. So are you saying like one of those adults could be a doll?
Yeah, dog, it could be.
But that...
No, come on. So
no. Nikki Prue.
You sound like you're at least in your 20s. So my advice would be like, go get an apartment and maybe test out some dating sites. Because I don't...
Courtney Harbaugh.
Okay, well, first of all, was it a suspect or was it his significant other? That's an honest question.
Angelique Young.
Run the risk of getting a fine, and you run the risk of potentially going to jail for coming here. It doesn't mean you can't stay home and do it. How many people?
No, that's wrong.
Ivan Alexander.
The video could have been done a little differently. I mean, I just think, again, to me, it's extreme, but that's just my opinion. So I'm going back to my wine. We're good.
And Dr. Christina Palin.
He was for Trump, and look at how he's getting nothing from that circle, right? And even
wonderful host. I'm so glad the whole team is here. Yay!
Tonight's topics: we react to the verdict of guilty in the David Chauvin case. Then we react to the transgendered bill of youth that is banning children from playing sports in Florida. After that, we talk about Colton Underwood's revelation. Sit back and enjoy the conversation. Hey guys, and welcome back to Common Courtesy. I'm your moderator and host, Sean Nicholas. Sorry, I'm just laughing because like that my voiceover. It's just
I like that. You changed it. I like it.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad
Dr. Palin was looking fabulous in the dress. Yes.
Oh, thank you.
I told you, like, I was like, you look so strong and powerful. Like, I love that dress. Anyway, so, all right, let's get started because there's a lot of things going on today. Because one, I forgot when I was sending out topics this week. It's 420, and I just kind of want to say, I am an avid supporter of, decriminalization of marijuana. And also as well, I'm really big into supporting dispensaries, and one plant is a dispensary in our local city that they do very well. They have a nice selection. So I have my medical marijuana card. I believe in the use for that, but as well as recreational, because this shit is getting like ridiculous because people getting shot over this anyway. Anywho. All right, so let's get started with the biggest story that is out there right now. Derek Chauvin was found guilty today, and I just kind of want to get a reaction from the panel tonight. Let's just play a clip from that because I always come with receipts.
Unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony. Find the defendant guilty. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2. Third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act. Find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to in the above entitled matter as to count 3. Second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk. Find the defendant guilty. This verdict.
So that's what we saw just hours ago. And I just kind of want to get a reaction from Ivan and Dr. Palin. Dr. Palin, I'm going to start with you first because you're a very avid proponent of criminal justice reform, including the justice system with prosecutors and judges. How do you feel about this verdict?
So I think that, of course, 100%. I mean, I just could not even imagine another result. But the most important thing about this that I feel like is getting kind of completely sideswiped is the fact that we are here today with cops like Chauvin because of judges and prosecutors. And they are seeming like through Chauvin's trial to be the heroes. They're not the heroes. They are the culprits of this boiling point. That now these cops have been emboldened through decades of civil rights actions that were non-deadly, that were dismissed. So, year after year, we pulled the 11th Circuit Court of Appeal in Atlanta. There were 2,311 civil rights cases that were non-violent, that were dismissed right at the outset, not allowing anyone to seek redress for having been falsely arrested, having been kicked in the stomach, having been punched in the face. Yeah, they survived, but they were brutalized by police. And not to mention the countless other lawsuits where people were falsely convicted because cops lied and they fabricated evidence, they planted evidence, and still, the judges gave them a pass. I think that in all of this, including CNN or whoever, the liberal media, everybody is so honed in to the issue that it's a cop problem. It is so wrong. It's not a cop problem. It's a judge, prosecutor problem.
Okay, I can see that and I can agree with that. Let me go to Ivan. Ivan, how do you feel about this verdict? Do you think there's going to be more of a conversation now on police reform, or how are you just feeling in general?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes to the point, yes, it had to come back guilty. Now, to that extent, if you check Facebook, you see a lot of people have opinions that say that the trial was rigged, it was already prejudged, the people feared for their lives, they had to say this, they had to say that. We know there's a lot of abuse that goes on out there. The issue I have is that it's not just the cop, but the cops that stand around and let it happen and don't do anything with it or about it to stop it. So the other 3 officers that were involved were just as guilty as if they had their knee on his back because they didn't stop him. In the same respect, there's people saying, oh, he was doing his job. Part of his job is to resuscitate life if somebody's like half dead. And if you're the one that caused the half death in this case, you should have done something to help him out, as well as allow the ambulance people, EMTs, to do what they do. So you can't sit there and say, oh, well, my knee in his neck or my knee on his body didn't cause the issue. It did. And the one thing I liked about the prosecution that said, because the whole thing, like carbon monoxide was brought up, that's a bunch of BS, okay? We know exactly what happened and why it happened. It was filmed for the whole world to see it. But when the prosecution said he didn't die, he actually he didn't die from an enlarged heart. He died because Chauvin had a small one.
Right.
I think that was just as powerful as if the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit. And that's going to be around for time. And that's what the situation is. So that's my 2 cents of guilty, definitely. Were the jurors in fear of their life to a degree if they had gone the wrong way? I know if I was a juror, but you can't really say that played a part in their decision. They did what they did. It came out guilty. And for some of these people who are in disbelief that he's guilty, they need to wake up. It was filmed. The whole world saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that as well. You're coming in. We were talking earlier. We're having some technical difficulties with you coming. You're kind of breaking up, but we heard everything that you said, and I agree with everything everyone said on the panel tonight. Especially one, I'm glad. Listen, I was having a discussion with someone the other day about this, and they were saying, well, he could breathe, he could talk, whatever, whatnot. And then I posed the question. This is to all those people out there in social media. How did he die? And the answer was lack of oxygen. And I'm like, oh, okay. So come on. It's like, what caused that? We have to be honest. Yeah. And I agree with Sunny Hostin on The View. She was saying, as a prosecutor, with this evidence, like I said, yeah, we all saw it. You can believe your eyes. You can believe what the entire world saw. I mean, there's this psychological thing that they use as well. I wanted to mention, I was trying to mention in the conversation I was having this weekend, that they use this tactic, the Genovese syndrome, where something is happening to someone and no one makes a move to stop it. And we all saw there was like at least 20 to 40 people around this, and no one stopped it and especially in this case, it was out of fear of retaliation from the police. They were, I would be afraid to jump in, even though I know as a human being that life is being lost right now. I'm happy that all of these verdicts came back guilty, and hopefully the sentencing when that happens is adequate to the crime, because it's not about I also heard something from the case was someone said it's not about who he was, it's about what he did, and we can't just argue this like 10 minutes on someone's knee. It's ridiculous. Anyone else want to say anything before we move on from this to the next topic?
So just one little thing. So what happens is what we don't recognize is the system has to be dismantled, because when the judges and the prosecutors have spent decades emboldening the cops to make them feel like they're never going to be held accountable, they're never going to be, they're going to be invincible. You're not going to change that cop culture by training, by reform, by anything. You have to completely dismantle the system and go after the other culpable parties. And we need to put judges on trial. We need to put prosecutors on trial. We need to go back and find on all wrongful convictions that we hear every year. There's an exoneration registry in the nation now, and there's over 2,000 each year now. They're keeping track, and they're not even covering all the wrongful conviction. But we need to go back and find out all the judges and prosecutors in those cases and put those people on trial.
I agree with that, because you're absolutely correct. Sorry, go ahead, baby.
Oh, no, I was just saying it sounds good, but when I say that I want to point out is, yes, he was found 45 years, 12 and a half minimum, but they can actually extend it to the whole 45 or 47, 49. Essentially, he'd be in jail for the rest of his life. My only comment at this point is he's not going to survive unless he's put in protective custody or some special place, which will be at our expense as the taxpayers.
Yes, absolutely. My father was telling me. Yes, absolutely. My father and I was having a conversation about that as well, because, people are very angry by what they saw, because it wasn't just his act, but that video, we all saw it, the entire world. I could have played something from that, but I wasn't going to. That video was just so powerful. It changed a lot of people, I've never seen anyone on television. So, I mean, anything else, Ivan?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Dr. Palin, we're all good too?
Yes.
All right, guys. So let's move on to our next topic, because I'm glad we just got on top of this topic as soon as it came out. But the next one about the transgender bill in Florida prohibiting transgendered young girls from not playing alongside biological women. I kind of wanted to hit on that. And here's a little bit of a clip of two Florida representatives talking for this bill and against it.
Leagues.
We recognize that there are some physiological differences in strength.
State Senator Kelly Stargel is sponsoring a bill in the state Senate.
We want to have women to have an advantage and be able to participate within their own network of strength and safety.
But Democratic Representative Anna Eskamani sees the efforts as discriminatory. Are these bills an attack on trans kids?
The fact that we're handpicking cases that have become sensational in the right-wing media to draw this dynamic of anti-trans rhetoric is really dangerous to equity across the country.
So the bill is called HB 1775, and it just passed, I believe, last week with a 77-40 vote in the House of Lawmakers in Florida. I just kind of want to go to the panel. My question to you, guys, is this bill discriminatory towards the trans community? And for this topic, I'm going to go to Ivan first. Ivan, do you think this new bill is discriminatory towards the trans community?
Well, yes. Right off the bat, you're discriminating. You're separating them out from being included with them. I understand the whole thing about if you were naturally born a female or naturally born a male. And the interesting part when I read about this was they're only prohibiting the actual transgender male to female from playing on the girls and women's teams. If you are transgender female to male, you can still play on the boys team and the men's team. So it's clearly discrimination. So, I mean, there's no other way to look at it than it is. Now, I will say in the same respect, yes, biologically born, a man has different muscular, attributes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in the same respect, and I take this as a humorous side, jokingly, of course, Layla Ali is a woman. She can kick my butt. Okay? And she's straight up woman. But she could knock me out with one punch. So I'm just saying, it is what it is. Now, of course, it's bad that you feel you're already trapped in the wrong body.
Right.
So then you have to go through all of the situation of dealing with that and everything else that comes along with it. Now you're gonna be told that now you finally are you're your true self or what you feel is your true self, and now you're being discriminated because of other people's views. I mean, it's really touchy. How do you fix it? But in the same respect, it's a mess. So I'm still up in the air about it. Is it discrimination? Yes, I totally agree. Should they say that the transgender male to female doesn't play on the sports teams with the women? I can kind of see that to a degree. But again, if you physically, there are women who are built physically and more muscular than men are. So we're not.
Okay.
And that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, because you're making me laugh, but you're absolutely right about Layla Ali. I'm going to go to Dr. Palin. Dr. Palin, how do you feel?
So, like with every other bill, I feel like this is culmination of not having or just having lawyers on, as lawmakers. I mean, why is it that they cannot make provisions where they say that, subject to testing of testosterone levels and estrogen levels, because many of the trans individuals who are going through transformation are taking biologically changing their hormonal balance. So most of them do end up being female biologically, although it's induced biologically, still they don't have the testosterone. So long as you don't have the testosterone levels that are much higher than the estrogen levels, then I don't see why it cannot be based on science and why it has to be based on, oh, no, it's, you just can't do, you know what I'm saying? It's just a political statement. I feel like it should just be based on science. I mean, this has been proven through many studies that some people are just born into the wrong body. And,
Right.
you can't, you cannot suffocate those people by saying that, okay, you're not going to, you can be a woman in every other aspect of life, but you can't compete in sports, which is a very big portion of our life. So I don't understand why it couldn't be based on science. Just have something where they are required to show that their testosterone levels have decreased enough or their estrogen levels are increased enough so that biologically they are hormonally, they are acting more out of estrogen than testosterone. Then they would be equal.
I can agree with that. I love how we have a doctor on the show because, like, it's a scientific thing, and also, like, yeah, right. It's all based in science. Like, just about being a homosexual myself, I'll be honest. I can't tell you why. I just like dudes. So I don't really want to speak on someone else's life, but I just kind of want to get this comment before I go. Jess Gorman says, kind of seems like as far as children go, it's kind of okay people to act. It's kind of okay for people to act like pedophiles. And I kind of can understand what she's saying with that, because when it comes to, like, children, like, or anything like that, laws are very not, it just gets political and the laws aren't what they should be. But I want her to, if she's still watching, Jess, I want you to kind of clarify that. I don't know if I answered that.
I know, but, I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah. But I'm going to go out on the limb and say that's probably what she meant. But on this bill, is it discriminatory? Absolutely. I agree with Representative Anna Eskamani, because I hope to have her on the show. But yeah, like, who are we to tell people that, what they feel inside isn't, right? We can't explain everything. But, what do they think? Because this is what I see. They had the wrong people in the fucking room, dude. That's how we need I agree with Dr. Palin. I agree with Dr. Palin because
you put it so much better than I
did. Well, I agree with you when you say, right now all we have are doctors and lawyers in government, because this is what they probably see. They probably see, just to make a joke, it's just in poor taste, but they probably see like fucking Shaq in a wig dunking on these girls, That's or like Mike Tyson boxing, I don't think that's what it's gonna be.
I'm so removed from reality when it's not based on science,
It's science and personal experience because our own co-host, Angelique, she's a trans woman,
Uh-huh.
and I can. Why wouldn't she be able to perform in sports?
Right.
In women's sports, she's a woman, and I think the point that it's kind of is discriminatory and fucking hateful if you think about it, because they really think that these girls are actually men. And
Right.
Florida
Exactly.
needs to. That's what they're not saying, but I'll say the silent part on this show because that's why I have it this platform because I'm not afraid to say that shit. That's what they're thinking. They're gonna have Shaq and LeBron James in a wig dunk on these girls, and it's not fair. I think that's a wrong thinking, and it's just ignorant. Let's go back to having your own personal experience because I live in because before I was out in the LGBTQ plus community, I didn't understand those things either. But as I opened my heart and mind because this is life, everything changes. I learned, because what the fuck do I know? But Jess says she comes back with this. What I saw said kids in question would have submitted to gender. Oh, yes, as well. That's what's in this bill as well. That they can submit
that's part of
children. Let's react to that. Now, let's go to that because that's fucking disgusting and ignorant. How do you guys feel? Let's go to Dr. Palin. You're the doctor on the panel.
I'm sorry. I mean, I just can't believe I just read that. I mean, again, it's all because ignorant people sitting in a room who have no business. They don't get expert testimony. It's just like these people that are just trying to make a political statement. Who cares? The genitals, the shape of the genitals, and the way that your genitals look has nothing to do with your strength. Has zero element, zero factor. So I could have a penis on, but I could have literally attach a penis to my body. But when you test my blood, I would never have the strength of a man because my testosterone levels would be very low. Although some people may object to they think I'm too aggressive. But do you know what I'm saying? Like biologically, I would not be considered a man, even though I may have the parts of a man. So that again is not based on science.
Right.
That's total, complete humiliation to me.
It is.
It's for that purpose.
Ivan, let's go to you, and then we're gonna.
Well, I think it's total humiliation, and I think it's also traumatic. It would be extremely traumatic to have to put a child through something like that just to play a sport. I do not agree with it in any way, shape, or form. You can tell medically or biologically through other tests. You do not have to have this poor child exposed so that you can say this is a boy or girl. I think it's total bullshit.
Absolutely. I love this panel.
Thrown there, doctor.
I love this
panel. Too aggressive.
But that. But see, that's the ignorance. A lot of my friends are women, and I wouldn't say aggressive because they wouldn't say that about a man. It's misogynistic. It's
right.
misogynistic. So misogynistic and ignorant. The wrong people were in the room. It's like when they make these laws for black people or these movies about black people and didn't have a black person in the room. Like, you ever heard this movie called LaQuisha, where this dude was pretending like he was a black guy? And on the radio, it was like a radio show. People would call in, and he would give advice as LaQuisha. And it was someone would call in like, "Oh, my man's cheating," and she's like, "Girl, you need to leave him." And people thought it was a black woman. And I watched that, and I'm like, there wasn't a black person in the room when they wrote this. When they pitched it to the studios, there was not a black person at the table. But I want to get to this. Last comment about this topic. Jess agreed. She says that's just fine. What jumped out? We're talking about the examination of people. That's just fucked up. Like, could you imagine? Like, already to play a sport when I was a kid, you have to do a physical. And I think that's but that's normal. But just doing it for that purpose is totally wrong, and we need to get on that and fight about it and make a lot of noise, get out in the streets because Pride's coming up. Anywho, let's move to this last topic because I wanted to jump on this. So the Virgin Bachelor Colton Underwood recently came out in an interview with GMA's Robin Roberts. I love how I know the team. I recently watched it. I just kind of want to get a reaction because my question is, does this does this threaten the reality of reality TV? Because he went on that show with the premise of he was heterosexual, but let's just see what he had to say.
Myself for a long time. I've hated myself for a long time, and I'm gay, and I came to terms with that earlier this year and have been processing it.
And wanting you to find love. And now they may feel that you misled the public and misled those women from that season.
Yep.
How do you address people who feel that way?
Do I regret handling it the way that I did? I do. I do think I could have handled it better. I'll say that.
How so?
I just wish I wouldn't have dragged people into my own mess of figuring out who I was.
So that's what we had to say about coming out and whatnot. But let's back to the question: does it test the reality in these reality dating shows? Because I mean, I'll be honest. As an actor, I've seen castings looking for actors to portray people like on, let's say, a Big Brother, or it's The Bachelor. So is there a does this hit at reality? And how do you feel about him coming out as well? Let's go to Ivan first, and let's go to Dr. Palin first. I did you last. Sorry.
That's okay. I mean, I don't. What's the significance of him coming out? Why are we making it an issue? Why is this such a special thing that he's coming out?
Well, because he was on The Bachelor, right? Which is a show.
I know, which is a show. So is that the only reason? Is that from the only perspective? Because he just wasn't, he was hiding it himself?
Oh, well, here's some more tea. So the woman that he married at the end of the show, I can't remember her name right now. I wish I had a producer in my ear giving it to me. I didn't write it down. But after the show, after they were married, apparently there was a bad breakup where there was a restraining order against him. And, it kind of answers a little bit, in my opinion, I don't want to editorialize, but if you ask me, it kind of answers as to why maybe that situation happened, because no one ever went into why there was a bad breakup or why there's a restraining order. I just kind of want to ask how you felt about a little bit about that, but more so about the reality of reality TV.
Yeah, I mean, I think that him coming out is to me, it's not special. I mean, he should come out, but it's also, I think, from the context of what you just said, to me, what that says is that we're still putting so much pressure on this kind of sexuality in our society that we force people to get married and do all these things, and they go through all, now he's got heartbreak with someone else. He's got his own heartbreak. I mean, the way that I think of it is more on a systemic view, where if we made life and sexuality a normal part of the society that we live in, maybe we won't have these, bumps on the road. It shouldn't be that he has to get married and then, oh my God, I'm coming out, So that's how I feel about it.
I didn't mean to laugh. And he was also, Dr. Palin, he was also a virgin. I'm only laughing because what you said sounded funny, but it's because it's true. But also as well, he was a virgin all throughout this. So in the interview, I just kind of want to throw it out there too.
So he never slept. The marriage was never consummated. He never slept with his wife, the wife that he married from Bachelors.
I don't remember. I don't know if they got married, or whatever. I know they were engaged. I think the marriage was called off. Because how it works with those things, because that's the real truth. That's what I be thinking. Like Tom Cruise, I think he gay too. It didn't work with Katie Holmes, please. That's because she knew what happened. Come at me, Tom Cruise.
Is he virgin also? So he had never had homosexual sex either?
Yeah, he said that in the interview as well. He's like, I never had. I don't believe him. But let's go to Ivan.
It kind of seems a little.
She's not buying it. She's not selling. So my thing is, I saw the interview and I said, well, he looks gay to me anyway. So I'm like thinking with the interview, it's like, well, whatever. So I'm thinking, okay, so TV, there's very few things in reality TV that are real. However, when the realness comes in, it's so unbelievable that it gets fake anyway. So the bottom line is, if he went into The Bachelor, a heterosexual dating show, knowing he was gay, then he did it for the money. Now, in his little interview, he said, "Well, I was just thanking Jesus that finally this show's going to get me on the straight and narrow." Yeah, right. With some paychecks behind it, perhaps, but it's like as far as that goes, no, you can't make this crap up. So I just think
Why would
personally,
he come out then on the show?
but because it was going to either he came out or he was going to be brought out. So the thing is, he took control of it. I don't believe for 1 second that somebody behind the scenes didn't threaten him to say, "I'm going to expose you if you don't expose yourself." And I don't mean it that way. But but I think it was all about the money. It's all just like when you have reality shows, there has to be a villain, there has to be a hero, there has to be some drama to make you look at this. And that was definitely good drama for the show.
Yes.
So I think it's a joke. I mean, it is what it is.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. Exactly. I agree with you, Ivan, because like literally, I think you know what happened. Because remember, I said something about that restraining order. I think it was her. She's like, if you don't tell people what happened, I'm in.
That's a good point. Yes.
Because you know what?
Really good point.
Okay, because if you really want to know, I'm petty like that too. I'm like, wait, I got to get back at this fool.
And I mean, that's understandable. If he was not honest with her, I mean, it's
hell yeah.
But if he's doing it for money, that's fine. I mean, that's not right.
Definitely. I think she came for revenge. I mean, somebody was upset. Somebody was scorned.
Listen, as a heterosexual woman, I mean, I would not want to sleep with a man. I would want to sleep with a man who's attracted to a female body. I mean, that just makes no sense. So I can see how I feel like I'm totally duped.
Jess agrees with us.
Exactly. A woman scorned. She was pissed. She wanted revenge.
So he had
that's my thought on it. Like,
right.
Same, because he had to get Olivia Pope and go on. He didn't just go on The View. Oh no, he went on GMA with Robin Roberts. He had a good PR firm. I think Matt Gaetz to give that firm a call because he's about to go down.
And came out like late at night.
Sorry, Dr. Palin.
I was just saying that she came out late in life.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll be honest. What I've learned in Florida, a lot of the gay men that I've dated that were older, they have children as well. And I'm like, what the, But as I got used to it, I'm like, well, if I was living back in the 70s, I was living back in the 90s, and being gay was not cool then. It was definitely not like the bullying girl. I had to become a fighter. I was like Christina Aguilera. Thanks for making me a fighter. Like, because either you can get your ass whooped, but like, I'll be honest, like, I don't care. Like, if you're gonna come at me, I'm doing it. But anyways, Ivan.
That's a good point, though. I didn't think about it. You're right. There were probably more men who were not coming out and were having kids, and now you can meet. You probably, men your age meet those men who couldn't come out.
Right. You know what? I'm a little bit of a psychologist and I pay attention, that a lot of the older guys, and it makes sense. You can't blame them. No, it's a survival mechanism. How are you going to survive? Are you going to be who you are or do something that's going to keep you alive? And, I, as a gay man, I'll be honest, I'll open up. I've often thought about, just living a fake straight life, and even going into acting. I was like, the first thing I asked my teacher, because they asked us, what is something you want to work on? And I said, could you teach me how to be straight? And she didn't understand what I meant. And I'm like, how can you not, and she was so confused. So we had a conversation about it. She's like, Sean, I don't think you need to worry about acting straight. You need to just be yourself, because that's where the real meat of it comes. And trust me, girl, I can do any scene right now. I can cry on cue, because after she said that to me, it lifted a big weight off of my shoulder that, yes, I can be myself. So you're right, Dr. Palin. And Ivan, let's go to you real fast before we close out.
I was just saying the old saying, he had to get before he got, and she was going to got him. So the bottom line is, if he didn't speak up, she was going to fry him anyway. So that's it. He had to get before he got. That's it. That's all I got.
Period. Like
Period.
I mean,
Period.
I think I'm glad Dr. Palin asked us why do we care, because when you lay out the whole story, yeah, you better.
Yeah, that makes more contextual sense.
Mm-hmm. And it's juicy, baby. It's juicy. I'm gonna be following this because Lance Bass. Sorry, Ivan.
Oh, go ahead. But no, go ahead, because you Lance Bass. I was going to say Lance Bass got in there too and said, "Be careful because this could backfire on you." But in the same respect, I think he got paid not once, going on twice, and still going to collect checks because he got paid for The Bachelor. You know, Good Morning America got that story as an exclusive, so you know he got paid for that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and now the other stories that come up after the fact, he's getting paid for them as well. So there's more money coming in. So you know what? Take your 15 minutes of fame, be who you are, do your thing, and realize after this, nobody cares.
Anywho, that's all the time we have for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I had a lot of fun. We'll see you guys next week. And also as well, check our Facebook. If you want to find us on every platform that you listen to your podcast on, baby, we got a link to that. It's our link tree. We'll see you next week. Bye.